Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I thought it's only appropriate for me to make my return with the story of where I've been, why I've been gone. For those of you who somehow missed it, I gave birth. I had a baby girl. I have a daughter now. She's incredible. She's amazing. She's all the things I ever thought she would be. So of course I thought it would be very appropriate for me to share the birth story with you guys. I've always been wildly fascinated by everyone's birth story and like how it all goes down and all that stuff. So here's my experience. I was sitting on the couch Christmas Eve. My husband had gone to bed around 8 p.m. I stayed up because, hello, I have insomnia. It's a very real problem in my life. I am usually always awake. It's very difficult for me to get sleep pre-baby. Being pregnant is honestly the most sleep I've ever gotten in my whole life. That's the easiest I've ever slept in my whole life, was throughout my pregnancy. I'm definitely kind of missing that now. So I was sitting on the couch and it had turned around midnight. I was watching Christine McConnell, and just before midnight I got up to use the bathroom, and when I came and sat back down on the couch I felt like a gush of water and I was like, oh cool, am I peeing myself? Awesome. But then I felt another gush and another gush. They were small gushes, but they were gushes. I promptly got up and went to the bathroom, and it kind of just kept happening. It was like it didn't feel like peeing. I'm gonna just be super TMI in this video. If you're grossed out by any of this, here's your warning, tune out now. It only gets more brutal from here. I thought, you know, she was being very active. There was a lot of movement and motion happening. So I thought maybe I had peed myself, but the water was clear and there was no scent to it at all. My due date was December 26th. So then I thought, well, maybe this is like my mucus plug. I know that's something you lose before, so let me ask my community. My community is Reddit. So I promptly got on the pregnancy subreddit, which, by the way, nicest subreddit I've ever been a part of. The people on there are so nice, which is so rare for a Reddit community, like so insanely rare. I got on there and posted exactly what had been happening. I was like, is this me losing my mucus plug? Like, what's happening here? And I also messaged my friend who's a paramedic being like, hey girl, I know you're at a Christmas party and turned up right now, but this is the situation. Do you think this is me losing my mucus plug, basically? I was having no pain. I couldn't tell you if I was having contractions or not because I just wasn't really in pain at all. Everybody on Reddit was like, yeah girl, sounds like your water broke. You should call labor and delivery like now. Like every single person was like, no, that sounds like your water broke. But you know, you see it in movies where it's like a huge like thing and it's like, oh my God, like it's very obvious when someone's water breaks in a movie. And I know, real life isn't like the movies. I know. But this is the only thing I really had to go off of, you know? So I didn't expect it to be like small little gushes like it was, because mine wasn't all at once. Mine was very much little like pulses every couple of minutes. I called labor and delivery. By this time it was probably around 12:45 a.m. So obviously my doctor's office is closed, but there's like an emergency system. So they like reroute you to the emergency system, which I'm pretty sure was just the hospital, because I explained to them what had been happening, and the girl on the other line just goes, yep, okay, well, yep, all right, well, you can go ahead and head on down to the hospital. And I was just like, really? Like, are you sure? Okay. Yikes. They were like, no rush, but like, we'd like to see you in the hospital 2 hours from the time that your water does break. But like I said, it had already been an hour by now and the hospital was 20 minutes away. So I was like, okay, so we gotta go. It was really difficult for me to believe that I was in labor because, like I said, I wasn't having any pain at all. I was just like wetting my pants. So I went upstairs and woke my husband up. I was like, hey, so I think my water broke. I don't know. They want us to come into the hospital. They said they want to see us. And he was like, all right, let's go. We already had the bags packed, so we were pretty much ready to leave. I put out a bunch of food and a bunch of water for my cat because I didn't know how soon I was gonna be back. Got him taken care of and situated, and then I had to take one last photo of me being pregnant before we left. This photo is of my mom when she was pregnant with me on Christmas, and this was 1991. I was born in February. I actually just turned 30, whoop whoop. And I had told myself like, oh, I'm gonna recreate this photo before we go to the hospital, before I have this baby on Christmas. I'm gonna take a photo like this. But we never made it to Christmas Day, so I had my husband take this photo of me to kind of like recreate the moment before we left for the hospital. So this is the last photo of me being actually pregnant, which is cool because like this is right before I had her. Spoiler. So we get to the hospital, and you know, the whole car ride there, I'm pretty much just like, this isn't happening. Like, they're probably gonna send me home. Like, this is probably just like, they're gonna check me out. I don't really think I'm in labor because like no pain, no gain, you feel me? There was no one on the roads because it was just us and Santa. And we get to the hospital, and the second I get out of the car, oh my God, so much water left my body the second I stood up out of the car. Like, that was like the movies. That was like, oh no, okay, for sure my water broke. I was kind of questioning it the whole time, but the second I stood up, it was like, I crouched down because like everything inside of me was like, you need to pull your pants down. You need to like pop a squat right now. This is too much. This is too much. So I just like stood there, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like talking to my husband. I was like, oh my God, Adam. Oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot. Oh my God, it will not stop. It's a lot. It's a lot. At this point, it is literally all down my legs. It's in my socks. Like, it was entirely, took over my entire lower half. We go to the hospital with COVID and everything. The hospital was locked, so we get to the doors and like, locked. Don't know where we're going. Security comes over the intercom. He's like, can I help you? We're like, yeah, we're trying to find labor and delivery. And he's like, all right, cool. And like buzzed us into the hospital. I'm like, hi, I'm here for this situation. Meanwhile, I'm like frantically searching for a bathroom. Never found a bathroom, just by the way. We did find labor and delivery finally. Not a soul in this hospital to ask for directions, just BT dubs. I gave birth at Good Samaritan Hospital in Cincinnati. Hands down, the nicest hospital I've ever been in my entire life. So clean, so nice, such good staff. Cannot say enough good things about the facility there. Amazing experience. So we get into labor and delivery, and we're standing there getting checked in for what feels like a freaking eternity, probably just because I'm in like wet pants and socks. We finally get admitted, and they take us back to triage, where I'm administered a urine test, a drug test, a blood test, all sorts of stuff, a COVID test. They've got my IV put in. The IV was incredibly painful. I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and I definitely can relate. The IV was a really painful part of this whole experience. They put it in like, I think it was like right here, I'm pretty sure. It was like right on the side of my wrist, but it was like a full tube that was like in my arm. It was painful. It hurt the entire time I had it. I was never comfortable having that IV in my arm. It was insanely painful. I asked to get it out the second I was done giving birth. I was like, yo, can we, I don't want this. So immediately they start you on saline, they start you on fluids to get you hydrated, keep ya, I guess, just healthy and hydrated. And they were like, okay, we're gonna go ahead and get your Pitocin started. And I was like, wait a second, hold up. So Pitocin is the thing that they pretty much give you to induce labor. It's like oxytocin pretty much. It just gets labor going and gets things started. I'm a big watcher of Teen Mom. I've seen like every Teen Mom episode a million billion times. So I'm pretty familiar with Pitocin and what it is and what it does. And from what I've heard just generally is that it makes things incredibly painful, incredibly fast. So I wanted to hold off on getting Pitocin as long as possible. So I communicated that. I was like, oh, actually, like, I don't want to start Pitocin immediately. I want to hold off on that. And they were like, oh, okay, sure, you can do that. So just saying, just a reminder in here, don't be afraid to like speak up if you don't want something done right away. All of these things are optional. You are in the driver's seat, so have your own birth experience however you see fit. So we finally got back to labor and delivery after being in triage for like 2 hours. And once I was in the labor and delivery room, I was like, okay, like now's probably my best chance to like get some sleep, you know? I had an IV. I was peeing constantly because they're filling you with fluids and I'm super pregnant, obviously. And my water was still breaking. That was something no one ever told me and I never knew was gonna happen. Was my water came out and kept breaking until I had my baby. I thought it was like one and done. Like once your water breaks, like that's it. For some people it is. Everybody is different. Mine was not that way. They were like, yeah, that's gonna keep happening until she comes. I was like, oh. I had no idea. I was getting up and down, going back and forth to the bathroom a million times, which was really uncomfortable because I've got like this IV thing that I'm having to wheel. I feel like Michael Alley and Party Monster where I'm like walking down the hallway. I also had a baby monitor on me, as well as like a baby heart monitor, like a contraction monitor, a blood pressure cuff. I was attached to a lot of things. I was very uncomfortable because of the amount of things that were attached to me. Did not like that experience. Since it was Christmas Day, we did have a TV in our room, but since it was Christmas, the only things that were on TV were A Christmas Story, Harry Potter, like all the Harry Potter movies, which is weird because I've always considered those Christmas movies, but it was weird to see that reflected in the real world. I was like, oh, other people find these to be Christmassy too? Weird. The Wizard of Oz, and I feel like there was another one. Can't remember, but I watched A Christmas Story, I watched The Wizard of Oz, and I watched some Harry Potter. So that was pretty much my entire day / morning on Christmas, was just being in a hospital bed watching movies. They came in and kept checking me to see how dilated I was. Going into labor, I was already a centimeter dilated. That's pretty normal in your late term pregnancy. But as they kept checking me, I had progressed at 5 a.m. I had only progressed to like 2.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters, not a lot. And I had been laboring for 5 hours at that point. So at 5 a.m., that was when I decided, all right, fine, you can go ahead, you can give me Pitocin. I don't want this to take like an eternity, so let's get the Pitocin going. At that point, just as expected, labor really ramped up really fast. Things became really intense. My contractions were like kind of hurting before that, but nothing crazy. After Pitocin, they were hurting pretty badly. They told me, you know, let us know when you're ready for the epidural, because I had made it clear in the beginning an epidural was something I definitely wanted. But I didn't want to get an epidural too soon because I was scared that it would slow down the labor process and like stop my contractions. So I for sure didn't want to get it too soon. So it's like kind of this like balance that I was playing, you know, but honestly, if I could go back in time, I probably would have gotten the epidural and the Pitocin sooner, because once I got the epidural, I'm gonna go through that process in a second. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but once I got the epidural, they were able to keep ramping up the Pitocin like a lot stronger because I couldn't feel the contractions. I was shaking super hard the whole time. I've heard people talk about this before. I've seen it happen in people's like birth vlogs, but that definitely was something that happened to me. I was shaking like I was ice cold, freezing, teeth chattering, entire body like convulsing, shaking the entire time I was in labor. A little bit of that started before I even got to the hospital, and I think that was just so much anxiety going through me. But once I got to the hospital, I think it was just the Pitocin and the saline, just that amount of fluids going into you, it's cold. And although I didn't really feel cold, the nurse did bring like a heated blanket to me at one point, and I was like, actually, like that did help a little, but it didn't stop it. I was still like wildly convulsing and shaking the entire time like I was ice cold. That never went away. There was nothing that helped that go away until I was done giving birth pretty much, and they stopped the fluids. So I labored for 7.5 hours before I got the epidural. I got the epidural at 7:30 a.m. I put in a request for an epidural at 7 a.m., but that was when the hospital had their shift change, so like they had to wait for the new anesthesiologist to get there to give me the epidural. But I made the request at 7 a.m. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is insanely painful, so painful. I wish I could describe to you what contractions feel like. Unfortunately, it's just it's just really hard to describe. It's just really painful. It's really painful. Ironically enough, I gotta say, I thought labor was gonna be the worst pain I ever experienced in my life. It wasn't. The worst pain I've ever experienced in my life is being on the Paragard IUD. I have a whole video talking about my experience with that. To this day, that was still the most painful thing I've ever been through, which is crazy because I thought labor was like absolutely gonna top the charts for most painful experience of my life, but nope. I was super nervous to get the epidural. I was super nervous. One, of being paralyzed, obviously. I think that's a rational fear a lot of people have. It's very rare that that happens, but it could happen. So I was mortified that I would like jump or move or something and paralyze myself. And I was also just scared of the pain of it, you know? It's scary getting like a big needle put in your back and like a tube put in your spine. Like it's just a scary process. My labor and delivery nurse, who was there the majority of the day with me and throughout delivery, was incredible. I loved her. She was amazing. And she's the one who like holds you, you know, like she's like right here with me when I'm getting the epidural, as well as the anesthesiologist I had administering the epidural was also fantastic and great and wonderful and explained everything to me. So I felt as comfortable as I could going into it, although I was still wildly uncomfortable due to the contractions. Obviously, I'm in active labor. The worst part of getting the epidural was the lidocaine. Like they numb you beforehand, which is great. I don't think they used to do that. They do that now. And that just basically felt like a big like bee sting, you know? It felt like burning, stinging, that kind of a vibe, but not nearly as painful as my IV. So, you know, wasn't that bad. And then I barely felt the epidural when I actually got it. Like I barely felt anything. It was great. And then I just felt gradually number and number from the waist down. Kind of like the sensation of basically my body going to sleep. I could still move my body. At that point, I could still definitely move my legs and my hips. I had full range of movement, but I couldn't feel my contractions anymore, which was so fantastic. So fantastic. Literally could not feel them anymore. Amazing. I was progressing a little slower than they had liked. So like I said, they did keep ramping up my Pitocin pretty intensely from the time I got the epidural because like I said, I couldn't feel anything. So they were like, all right, girl, we're gonna kick it up now. I was like, you go for it. I can't feel a thing. Feel great. So they had to put a thing up my vagina. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, it goes up your vagina, up by where your baby is, and it monitors the strength of your contractions. They had to put one of those in me to monitor my contractions because, like I said, I wasn't progressing as quickly as they had liked. That thing was wildly uncomfortable. That was insanely uncomfortable. It felt like every contraction that I had from the time they put that thing in, it felt like my body was trying to push it out. I don't know if that's just the sensation of being in active labor and if that was actually my body trying to push out the baby, but it felt like my body was trying to push that catheter out. It was insanely uncomfortable. I really disliked that. And if I could go back in time, I would ask if that was necessary and if I could remove it because it made things so much more uncomfortable. I was so excited to get it out once it was finally time to push. I hated that thing. That thing was a terrible experience for me. I did not like that at all. So at that point I had told them, you know, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. I'm feeling a lot of like kind of like pain from that thing being in. I don't like it. So they gave me another dose of whatever medicine they used for the epidural. But at that point I couldn't move at all from the waist down. I was insanely numb down there at that point. They don't want to numb you too much because if they numb you too much and give you like too much of the epidural medicine to begin with, it makes delivering the baby harder because you can't feel to push. So it's, again, it's a balance. It's a fine line you're teetering of like keeping you numb, but not too numb. At some point during labor, she had flipped sunny side up, which is not how they would like your baby to be. The optimal position is face down, head down. She had been head down this whole time, but she did flip face up. So in order to get her to flip back, They flipped me a bunch. So they had a big like peanut ball thing and they put that in between my legs and made me lay on one side for like an hour, and then flipped me with the peanut ball and made me lay on the other side for like an hour, and did that alternating every hour pretty much until it was time to push, which made things a lot more uncomfortable. Again, just a lot of uncomfort. I was so numb at that point, I couldn't move my body, so it was a lot easier to flip back and forth when I could still move, but I couldn't move after the second dose, so the nurse was having to flip me. But at this point now, I've got an IV in my arm, a blood pressure cuff here, 2 monitors on my baby, a catheter in my vagina, an epidural in my back that is taped onto my shoulder right here. So I am covered in wires. And so every time we had to move me, I had to readjust all these wires so they're not pulling on my IV and on the epidural. It was wildly uncomfortable. Finally, around 2 p.m., the doctor came in to check me and she was like, well, it's time, girl, it's time to push. They propped me up to like start pushing, you know, like they had one of my legs back, which a nurse held, and then had my other leg back, which my husband held, and had me give it a go. She was like, all right, just go ahead, try, you know, give your biggest, best push. And so I did. And she was like, okay, it's like definitely time. Like, you're a good pusher. We don't need to like keep practicing. That was like her gauging like how good of a pusher I was. Like, that wasn't a real attempt, you know, like that was just like a practice. Like, okay, show me what you got. So she was like, all right. She asked the nurse to bring her this and this. I don't know what this and this were. I don't remember. I'm assuming it was something to catch the placenta, as well as like rags and stuff. I don't know. I wasn't looking down there at all. I did not want to see it. That was something I was wildly uninterested in. Did not want to see it. Did not want my husband to look. He didn't look, but he did see it. He was like, I didn't like look at it, but I was right there. Like I saw it. I know everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people are concerned that during labor they're gonna shit. They're totally gonna poop while they're pushing. While that is totally a possibility, I did not. I did poop before I got my epidural in the hospital. You know, I gave it my all because I didn't want to shit while I was giving birth. Nothing wrong with that. You're obviously using the same muscles you're pushing down. So I gave it my all before I got the epidural while I could still get up and use the bathroom, so I could, you know, maybe avoid that experience. And it seemed like it worked, so I didn't experience that. Once it was time to push, I got really scared. I got super, super scared. I think this is a very normal reaction, but they make you, you know, push, bear down with every contraction that you have. So once you feel a contraction coming on, and they can see them on the monitor too, then you bear down and you start pushing. And I was giving it my all and I was pushing. I probably pushed for about like 4 rounds, like 4 contractions. But there was a big pause in between one of my contractions. It felt like it was like a 5-minute pause. It was probably only like 2 or 3 minutes. But during that pause was when I like really freaked out. I started like crying a ton, and I was looking at my husband. I was like, I am so fucking scared. I am so fucking scared right now. And my doctor was incredible. She was amazing. She was like, it's okay. Like, you're allowed to be scared. That's normal. You can be scared right now. What are you scared of? And I was like, I'm afraid of ripping my asshole. I do not want to rip my vagina. I'm so scared of ripping my vagina. And she said to me, she said like the best thing to me. She didn't say like, oh, don't worry, girl, or like, you're gonna be fine. She goes, you can be scared about that. That's okay. I was like, okay. I mean, like I said, I only had to push for like 4 contractions. I pushed for a total of 7 minutes, and then I had my baby. I definitely felt it. I definitely felt it, but I had 0 pain. I could feel the baby coming out of me, you know, like that's an experience that I've never felt before and may never feel again. But I mean, like, I can feel, like I said, I'm just gonna be very TMI and honest. I could feel my vagina being like this big. I was like, holy shit, my vagina is blown open right now. This is the wildest feeling. And it was like, I could feel my vagina being like this. And then like once the head was out, I felt it go like that. I was like, oh, it got bigger somehow. How? Oh my God. Wild, wild experience. I was in 0 pain, like I said, but I definitely felt it. And once I like the baby was out and they put the baby onto me, my vagina didn't like instantly clamp back, which for some reason I thought was gonna happen. I thought like the second your baby is out, it like goes back. So I was just like, oh, we still open for business down there? Why is it still blown open? I'm so confused. But I think what had happened in reality was I was delivering the placenta at that point, but I didn't even like realize it, because a little while after the baby was like on my chest, I was like, oh, did the placenta already come out? And she was like, yeah, it did. And I was like, can I see it? Because I'm fucking weird and want to see it. And she was like, yeah, and like showed me it. And I was like, that's just crazy, because you grow like a whole ass organ while you're pregnant. So I was like, I want to see it. So I saw it. Once my daughter was born, they put her on my chest and I was just insanely shocked. My husband was like, I've never seen you look that like shocked in your whole life. And it wasn't that I was shocked that like I had the baby. I was shocked that it was so fast and honestly like so painless. That's where the shock came from. I couldn't believe that I was done. Like that was it. Like, okay, we're done. Like I pushed for 7 minutes, had a baby, boom, we're done. I did tear my vagina a little bit. So I had a 1st-degree tear, which required 2 stitches, which boy, let me tell you, something I hope to never see again in my life is a woman face to face with my vagina going like this. Just sewing you up down there. Oh my God, oh my God. What an experience that was. After she was born, I got sewn up, I got taken care of, got patched up down there, and you know, they do all the normal things. They clean your baby, take their footprints, weigh them, swaddle them, give them back to you, and then get you in your recovery room where I had to stay for like 48 hours. Oh my God, I hated staying in the hospital. Super nice hospital, super nice staff, amazing experience, but damn, I hated that hospital bed. It was so uncomfortable. I was so ready to just like be home in our home with her nursery, with all the stuff that we had to make things easier, you know, at an arm's reach. I was so ready to bring our baby home. I was definitely in severe pain after my epidural wore off. My vagina was super sore. Couldn't wipe, have to use like a little water squirt bottle to like go to the bathroom, like insanely sore. My stomach was a little sore, but honestly my stomach went back to normal pretty quickly. Even now I'm pretty impressed with like how much it's shrunken back to, like I'm pretty much where I was before I had a baby, which is so insane to me. I am exclusively breastfeeding, which has also been a journey and experience. If you want a whole video talking about that, let me know, because I have so much I could say about that experience. Since my baby was born on Christmas Day, we got so much swag for having a Christmas baby. There was women in the hospital who like knit little baby hats and give them to like newborns. So we got a bunch of like cute little knitted baby caps that I'm obsessed with. So cute, so cute. We got one that's like super like long, like it makes our baby look like a little who, and I'm obsessed with it. That is my favorite thing that we got in the hospital. As well as when I was in the recovery room, there was a couple of nurses who came in with like a cart full of all these blankets, being like, oh, like Merry Christmas, like pick out a blanket. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we just got so much like extra swag for having a baby. The nurse who delivered me, or who was there helping deliver me, she bought a baby onesie and a hat that said my very first Christmas for whoever she was working with that day. She was like, oh, you know, at first I was bummed out that I had to work on Christmas, but then I was like, I'm gonna turn this into like a good experience. I'm gonna get like a baby onesie and like a little Christmas hat for like whatever baby, like whoever I'm with like that day. So it's you, so here you go. So she gifted us a onesie and a hat, which was so nice. But it was like a little red onesie that said let it snow, and just like adorable, like adorable. So nice. So like did not have to do that for us. So insanely sweet. The hospital also gifted us some onesies because I don't know, is that a thing? I never knew that this was a thing. So just like all around an amazing experience. The doctor who actually delivered me did an incredible job. She like fished that baby, like, I'm sorry, well, I'm not sorry, you know, this is my birth story, hello. But she like, I saw her like fishing in my vagina and like taking the baby out of me. Like, she made it so nice, like so much easier. I don't think I would have had that baby as quickly as I did had she not been the one to deliver me. Amazing experience. Had a wonderful, wonderful delivery experience. Almost could not have gone better. I say almost because if I didn't tear and had to get 2 stitches, that would have been it going better, but like I said, it almost couldn't have gone better. I only had a 1st-degree tear. There are 4 different degrees of tears. If you're curious, you can look up what each one is. They get more and more horrifying, but 1st degree is pretty superficial, I guess. It's definitely the least bad out of all of them. So yeah, I'm a mom now. I have a little baby girl. She's adorable. She's perfect. She's precious. She's so cute. I can't believe she was born on Christmas. I really can't. That's insane to me. Obviously, we didn't like plan to have her on Christmas, but it happened. So that is it, you guys. That is my birth story of my daughter. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about labor, birth, whatever, leave them down below for me and I will get back to them as soon as I see them or when I'm feeding my baby at 3 a.m. because I'm very bored. I appreciate you guys sticking with me and sticking through. I will not be showing my daughter on my YouTube channel. This is something I've addressed in the past before, but just to reiterate, you will not see her on YouTube. If you're hoping for that, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be the channel for you. I do share photos of her on Instagram, so if you wanna see her, that's about the only place you'll find her. That's about it, you guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being here. I hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.